different tone of tonight's show. Man, were we raring to go. Jimmy was frothing. Jimmy was
I was champing at the bit, as they say. We're chomping at the
frothy.
bit.
I had I had 1,500 words on why Jaylen Brown will never be a blah 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 blah. I was ready to press publish.
And then the fourth quarter happened.
And then that was it. Fourth quarter, you know, late, not just fourth quarter, late fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff happened with about 4 minutes to go, and
They were down 14, I think.
Yeah.
it was an 18-4 run to force overtime.
There you go.
That was
Quick math.
it. 18-4 run to close the fourth quarter and push the game to OT, where they ran away with it. Sherrod Blakely is at the Garden. Bobby Manning is there as well. He's in on the press conferences right now.
Bobby Manning is downstairs, folks. He's in the building. He is in the press room. We don't know what's going to happen from this point on. He may not ever be there again, depending on how this goes.
Yeah. Ime.
Over here. Hey. Al. Oh, I hope to God Al. I hope that Al doesn't get in the podium today, or that might be it. Bobby might sit up there with him.
You might hug Al. First off, I just want you to know I have your jersey, and it's behind me when we do all of our shows.
They pan to the reporters. Bobby's sitting there in the back with a Horford jersey on. Oh, no, Bobby, we told you not to wear it. No, anyway, we're kidding.
Killing my guy.
Everybody relax.
No, man, he's a pro. He knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's
Killing
doing.
my guy.
He's got he wouldn't wear
When he gets a chance, he asks some of the best questions out there. So
that's right.
Just teasing, but Bobby's in there now. He'll join us in a little bit. So Sherrod, you're there. You start. We heard boos coming down in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say I'm amazed it took that long because this got ugly in the second quarter and stayed ugly. And the way they came out at halftime with zero care, just absolute disregard for the possession of the basketball after what we saw in the second. And Ime called one of those Popovich timeouts, like 40 seconds in. He's like, no, boom. Get over here. But it didn't improve from there. And it looked like we were headed for some real ugly here.
We were. I mean, this I felt like this was a Dennis Green moment where they were exactly who we thought they were. Orlando is a crappy team. They're just a horrible team, and this is what horrible teams do. When the pressure builds up, they crumble. But Jaylen, listen, I know there's some people out there who are like, hey, Jaylen, he showed you what he could do. The dude had like 7, 8 turnovers? And this is like the last three of the last 4 games, he's had at least 6 turnovers. That's a problem. Yeah. That is a problem when one of your top 2 players is turning the ball over like that, and he's not giving you James Harden production. He's scoring the ball, but James Harden is getting you 8, 9 assists, 30, 35 points, and yeah, he commits 6, 7 turnovers, but you can live with that. Jaylen's not giving you enough all-around game to be turning the ball over that damn much.
That's the problem. You know what I finally settled? You know what I finally settled in on? You're going to have to get you. It's not the same, too, because he does have high assist numbers. You're just going to have to get settled into Jaylen Brown being kind of a Russell Westbrook sort of figure, which is to say he plays with speed and explosiveness, which is what makes him effective. But because of that, he's just going to turn the ball over, too, because he's just going faster than he can handle sometimes, Even late where he had that really nice little crossover in the lane in traffic to kind of split
that was
a double
real nice.
And then go up. That was honestly, if he does that 10 times, he turns it over 7. That one worked and it was clever. That to me was a loose dribble that could have easily been a turnover as well, but it worked because he attacked and he went fast and he had them on their heels. But that's kind of where I'm settling in my mind, which is like, this might be who he is he has to play at this speed. And when he plays at this speed, he's going to lose the ball a bunch. Though some of these were just sloppy, but go ahead, Sherrod.
Yeah, I was going to say, but the one thing that we have to keep in mind is that more times than not, he's not going to have the ball in his hands as much as he has had the last 3 or 4 games because obviously Tatum will be around. So those numbers will go down and opportunities to make those mistakes will lessen. And so but if you're Jaylen, your offseason has to be spent on tightening up that grip.
I thought we did that though.
I don't think we did enough. I think we may need to go back for a second helping.
Yeah.
If this season is the first one, because it's clearly the one area of his game that he has to get better at. It's literally the one kink in his armor that is undeniable. And then knowing Jaylen the way he has been throughout his entire career, it's going to be something that he's going to address. It's going to be something that I anticipate he'll be better at that next season. But for now, you just got to weather the storm and just deal with the great scoring, which is awesome, and he's doing a good job rebounding. But the turnovers is just killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's killer.
I'll say this. I mean, Jaylen Brown over the last week or so, the aggressiveness is what I really like, and that comes.
Yeah.
And turnovers are going to come with that, right, Sherrod? I mean, like the more you're driving to the hoop, the more you're trying to do more because guys are out. Like whether it's Tatum or Schroder or Smart. I mean, guys have been out like crazy over the last couple of weeks, and Brown's been a constant for them, and he has really impressed me in the way that he's not just relying on like forcing outside shots. He's getting aggressive. He's taking contact. I mean, how many times tonight did he drive to the hoop, take contact, and either get to the line or at least finish at the rim? John already mentioned the behind the or the through the legs play. He had a nice pass in transition there. He had a nice finish from Smart. I thought Smart was all over the place in
Yeah,
that
I
fourth
thought Smart
quarter
was
and
good.
overtime. Totally,
Smart,
and
I thought Smart was the catalyst of them getting this game to overtime. That steal that he had in the fourth quarter that led to the game time layup for Jaylen. I mean, that was such a Marcus Smart play right
that was
there.
great, Marcus Smart
Yeah,
play.
I do want
Yeah.
to. I do want to qualify again. Just people in the chat aren't quite understanding. When I compare Jaylen to Westbrook, I'm talking prime Westbrook, not current Dave Westbrook, which is a guy who can score at will with explosive athleticism, but generates a lot of turnovers.
Right, and not
Today.
passer.
They're not a comparable player because Westbrook actually passes, and Jaylen Brown plays. And Jaylen Brown is a far more efficient shooter. You know what works to JB's favor? What negates the turnover factor for JB? It's not the assist, Sherrod, because you're right. You have guys who have the ball in their hand.
Wow, I don't think I ever heard you call him J. Oh, when he scores 50, now you call him JB.
JB. Guys who have the ball in their hands a ton are asked to make plays will turn the ball over because they're constantly trying to find guys and it's not always going to click. They have the ball a lot. They're going to commit more turnovers. So yes, the Harden comparison is not quite the same because he's trying to find guys as well. It's not just dribbling off his knee out of bounds or standing on the baseline, that comes with it. But where Jaylen counterbalances his turnovers is with incredibly efficient scoring, because he shoots at a high percentage, more so than a lot of other, more so than most volume scorers. So he's, especially last year, he was insanely efficient. So that is the same thing. What's the difference between missing more shots and a wasted trip because you've turned it over? It's about the same thing. So I do think he does counterbalance it there as long as he's scoring this efficiently, which he is. When he actually does tee it up and shoots it, he's more efficient than a lot of volume scorers out there.
Yeah, I mean, he had. I mean, obviously, he had a great game offensively. Did exactly what they needed him to do. Stepped up, made big shots. But I mean, if we're being honest and we're keeping it 100, this game should have never gone overtime.
Right.
You don't go to overtime after beating the best team in the NBA, on New Year's Eve, and you come back and you're playing the second to worst team in the East, and you at home, and you got to go to over, and you have to rally in the fourth quarter to get to overtime to then beat them. It shouldn't have happened. But this is who this team is. This is what they do.
If you take the game in spurts, I mean, they never should have been in a situation where they had to go to overtime. But at the same time, they did come back from 14 down late in that game. I mean, that would have been a horrible loss tonight. Losing to the Magic in regulation. Let's say they just kind of folded and they lost by 8 or something like that. I mean, coming off of such a big win against the Suns, it's so hard. It's so hard for us to come on the show and know or before the game even, and know what to expect. I mean, no one thought we were going to be talking about a win after the Suns game, and there was a real chance we were going to be talking about a loss tonight against arguably the worst team in the NBA. It's either them or the Pistons, right? So it's just hard to figure out what the hell you're gonna get on a night-to-night basis. I do like the fact that they didn't give up tonight. They came back hard, and again, it was against a bad team, so those teams tend to allow you back in. But at the same time, you have to give it up to like a guy like Brown to kind of put the team on his back down the stretch. Smart, we talked about, and Schroder needs to get his love too because I thought Schroder was the best player for them in overtime. He had a big three. got to the line a couple times, just kind of controlled the game a little bit. They needed a 3 from Al, and they got 1 from Brown too. I mean, it was a team effort, but Schroder, again, it's good to have him back. You can kind of see the difference just in capable players when he's out there, having that extra player that can go into the game late and do things, as opposed to a Romeo who's a black hole on offense, or you bring in whoever else off the bench that just can't seem to contribute on that offensive end.
Right. So that's the thing, is like, this was shaping up as the Jaylen Brown literally did everything possible to keep this crap ass lineup, in the game all night long, but it falls short, would have been the story if not for the Schroder step up late, because they couldn't find secondary scoring all night. It was really bad. It was an off night shooting for Smart, though he had a good game in a lot of other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Richardson had a tough night as well. Al is really, really a shell of himself in terms of his offensive capabilities. You lose Rob, so you lose a ton there in what you're able to do. Obviously, Tatum prior to the game couldn't get caught, couldn't whatever. Romeo, non-COVID illness sits this one out. So there wasn't a lot of skill on the court. Grant didn't have a good game. It was all in all that you were looking at that stat sheet and you're like, where is it going to come from? It really had to be Brown. And yes, thank goodness Schroder. He started off shooting cold and he really picked it up there in the fourth quarter, took charge, had the first 5 points of overtime. So yeah, hat tip to Schroder, who's definitely been getting killed by it feels like media and fans.
Because he's easy to pick on, because he's the guy on an expiring deal, and he's the easy one to say, trade them if they can get anything for him. It's a tale as old as time. But at the end of the day, if you want to trade Schroder, you have to understand that you're taking a step back this season. So you can't say you want to trade Schroder and expect to compete at any sort of level this year. This is a loss tonight without Schroder.
Yeah,
as good as Jaylen Brown was, this is a loss tonight without Schroder.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
If you want to trade Schroder, that's fine, but understand that you might not even be a playoff team if you do that. That's fine if that's what you want.
What good is that going to do? Because if you're not, I mean, you're going to wind up with the 13th pick?
Yeah, so you can get a second. So you want to trade Schroder for what? So you can get an extra second round pick?
Exactly. I mean, it just doesn't make
right. No, that's the problem. Is trading Schroder it only makes sense if a team dangles a first.
You have to win that trade. Yeah, you have to win that trade easily.
Otherwise, if it's just to save Wick some money and get under the cap, that's a terrible, 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 terrible deal. Terrible deal.
It's stupid.
But John, but how do you feel about that deal, John? Terrible.
Right.
No, I mean, it's so silly. Like, fans,
like everyone out there is like a mathematician. They want to get under the cap. It's like, why? Why do you?
Is this
care
what
so
you
much?
got into? Did you sit in your driveway
why you're a fan?
And be like, 10 seconds on the clock, Sherrod dribbles, and he's able to get under the luxury tax threshold? Like,
right.
It's 3, 2, 1 buzzer
Why are
beater.
there people out there screaming to trade Schroder so that the Celtics can do something so that doesn't affect them at all? I mean, like you're not going to get a first round pick for Dennis Schroder. There's too many other players that are just available for a 10-day contract. You can get Isaiah Thomas right now for dirt cheap. I'm not comparing the two players, but why would a team give a first round pick for Dennis Schroder when they can just go sign somebody probably not that much worse, at least can plug a gap, plug a hole, not to mention the buyout market, not to mention there's just guys out there that they can get for a second round pick. Like, you think you're going to get a first round pick for Dennis Schroder? He might be playing well enough to it wouldn't be outrageous, but it is pretty highly unlikely, I would say.
Well, there's why do it? Like him, but very few love him. That's
exactly
the problem. Lots of teams like him, and to love him, you would give up that type of pick, and I don't see it happen. I really don't.
And again, it goes back to explain how do you explain it to the rest of the team
at the trade
deadline? At the trade deadline, you traded Dennis Schroder, and you got whatever it was a financially trade, and you got a second round pick, protected or whatever it was. You're gonna the players in the team aren't stupid. You're gonna tell Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, hey, we just got rid of the sixth or the sixth man or the fifth best guy on this team or whatever. No. Go out there and give it your best shot tonight.
You need a Rubio situation that already happened. You need a team that's in contention to lose the only thing that resembled a point guard on their team and say, I need something. It's the team it's the NFL team that has everything going for it and a really good defense and a bunch of weapons, and is like, all right, I'll take Fitzpatrick to get me over the goal line here because I just lost my franchise quarterback.
Right.
Like, you'll take the pro. That a team might do that, or loses their only bench depth and they have no score. They lose a couple of key guys and they say, I need this. It's your PJ Tucker. I mean, if PJ Tucker can get you a first, who the hell knows what someone like Schroder can get you. I'm not really sure. But as for the game itself,
do it for that, but
yeah. As for the game itself, the fans here want everyone to gush about JB and his 50. So Sherrod, you were there. Obviously
they couldn't guard him. They just could not defend him at all.
Did they not throw enough doubles at him? I mean, you know what I liked about him? You know where I think he turned it around a little bit? Is what we always kind of say about Brown is, he was still scoring before, but he was sloppy. Everything was loose. Everything was loose. And he was piling up the points, but I mean, he was turning it over every other possession, but he started dribbling less and attacking faster, which is always a key for Brown. If he doesn't let the defense to set on him and then the guys start to swarm and the double team comes and he just gets it and goes, then great. And they were looking for him at each trip down too, with some ball movement, not just give it to him and get out of the way. So when it did start working, it wasn't just give it to Jaylen and clear out. There was a little bit of movement where when he would get the ball in a position, he'd get it in a good catch and shoot opportunity, or he'd get it with only one defender on him and a little bit of space to operate, and he would attack the basket, which I thought was better during that stretch. And he freaking hit everything.
Well, early on, they were doing that usual, chucking threes stuff that just makes you cringe. But then after about maybe 4 or 5 minutes in, they really started to make that ball movement pop. I mean, they finished with, I think, 25 assists, 39 made baskets, which is a good ratio to have. And Jaylen, the thing that I think made his game so impressive was he dropped 50 and didn't seem rushed at all. Like, he didn't seem like he was shot chucking. It didn't seem like he was just looking to just score at will. He was literally taking what the defense was giving him. And when you have a team like Orlando who has just such a crappy roster, health and safety protocol be damned. Even when all their pieces are healthy, they're not very good. Jaylen did what you should do against a team like that and absolutely score at will. The only issue I had with him was the turnovers. And again, I wouldn't bother me as much if the turnovers were like him trying to get the ball to this guy or that guy. But a lot of them were he just lost the ball. Like, just trying to dribble and loses control of it. Those are the ones that frustrate me. The ones where he's trying to get the ball to guys, those are effort mistakes, and you can live with that because he's trying to do the right thing. But when you're losing the handle against freaking, Wagner, that should not happen. He ain't that good a defender. That's on you, not him.
He should
those
retire
are the
the
ones that
spin move.
Yeah, I mean those are the turnovers that really bother me, and I thought he had at least 2 or 3 too many like that. So, but again, offensively, he got to anywhere he wanted to when he wanted to get there. Never seemed rushed, and again, it was certainly one of the more efficient 50-point games you're going to ever see.
Right. Well, he had that 18 for 22 game last year. It didn't end in 50. That was an insane game in terms of efficiency. But yeah, I mean,
I didn't even feel that there were any heat check moments in this game, really. I mean, the guy drops 50 points, and there isn't that like 2 or 3 minutes where it's just heat checking. I don't think that ever came about.
Usually
which is
people
unusual.
get to 50 with like closer to 8, 9, 10 threes. To get only 5 threes is not a ton to get there.
No, it's not. It's not.
So, no, and that's why I liked his game tonight. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't one of those games where like you are
aggressive.
Like hunting. Exactly, aggressive. And we know how athletic he is. And when he gets into that sort of zone, I guess, or that mentality, what do we say about Jaylen Brown sometimes is that sometimes we find him standing in the corner or kind of like just disengaged, right? And that's kind of what Ime has alluded to at times, like getting these guys going and getting them, to play 48 minutes or get to play the second half or what that the fourth quarters tend to be where guys tail off or in the Celtics case, sometimes the first quarters too. So to see him really turn it on and turn on the Jets in the fourth quarter down the stretch, he kind of basically took on the mentality of like, I'm not letting us lose this game, or at least I'm not letting us lose this way. I know I know I have to put the team on my back right now and sort of do everything or do it as much as I possibly can. And he was able to do that, and it's good to see that because, like I just said, I mean there are times where you're wondering like there almost were games, and I'm not saying recently because recently I haven't seen this, but in the past you say where was Jaylen Brown tonight? Where was he in the second half or in the fourth quarter? And again, maybe that has something to do with the fact that Tatum didn't play tonight, right? And the ball needs to end up in somebody's hands, and it's
Right.
pretty obvious it's going to be him. I mean, I think everybody watching the game tonight was screaming at the TV, "Get it to Jaylen Brown." Schroder tends to hold on to the ball a little bit longer than some people like. I guarantee you, everyone's like,
Yes,
"Get the
he
ball to
does.
Jaylen Brown." And it wasn't one of those situations where it's like, well,
No.
get it to Tatum or get it to
Right.
whoever. It was very obvious that Jaylen Brown was the guy tonight.
That we've seen that game script a ton. Jaylen comes out and he's gunning and he's hot early. He's by far their best starter, in terms of getting out quick.
He gets hot quick.
Yeah,
Yep.
He gets hot quick. And then Tatum's like, well, I got to get mine now. And it's not, like I said, a greed-based thing. It's just kind of Tatum's like, well, I gotta heat up a little bit too. So, he tends to dominate, touches, in the second and third quarters. And then Jaylen kind of reappears in the fourth. We've seen that a ton. You couldn't do that tonight because he was the entire offense for 80% of the game. There was nothing outside of Brown. And this was one of those nights where exactly, Jimmy, you're like, it's all good. You guys can all have a touch, and let's make sure everybody gets their hands on the ball and feels good about each other. But then give it to that guy.
Pass
to shoot.
it around.
This was me coaching youth league, and I've got 1 star. And it's like, okay, 5 passes, but then make the last one to him, and then that person shoots. Like that's what I want to see, and that's really what it had to be tonight because you did get into that rhythm where they're working it, and guys are like, I could shoot this 3, but I'm not going to make this 3. Should I shoot the 3 or not?
Right.
It's like I'm not, I'm a 30% shooter. Should I take it? It's open, I guess, and it's almost like you're doing what the defense wants you to do. It really had to be in Brown's hands to create. So we'll talk a little bit more about Jaylen, and I'm going to tell you why I'm certain that they should trade him. But before we have that discussion,
woo, yeah. Before that happens, everyone just chill.
I want everyone to be calm.
We might need to go back to this after John's take on Jaylen Brown. But we'll also start with this.
I want everyone to be calm. Jimmy,
Calm.com.
I got to get my extension cord. I'm going to let you do the calm read. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's calm.com/garden for 40% off a Calm premium subscription. Everyone's probably, listen, I hate to say it, tomorrow is arguably one of the worst days of the year.
Why is it one of the worst days of the year, Jimmy?
It's just the Monday coming out of the holiday season. Nobody has done a damn thing for like 3 weeks. Arguably, like that's on the low end. Probably nobody's really done anything for over a month. And tomorrow it's just like boom. Especially if you're in the New England area, winter's hitting you in it's gonna be cold as shit tomorrow. Pardon my French. And it's just Monday. Holiday season's kind of over, and you just might need something to sort of just take you down a couple notches, get you to sleep tonight. You don't want to be thinking about, if you're in sales, you got the new quarter, all this stuff. So calm.com/garden, 40% off a Calm premium subscription. Everyone's got their New Year's resolutions. Here's a good one for you. How about finding your inner self a little bit easier than you did in 2021? Not freaking out about this, that, and the other thing. Not getting ahead of yourselves. Not thinking about all these negative thoughts. Calm.com/garden, 40% off. Find your zen. And I don't know how long this 40% off deal is going to last. I know we've been lucky to have them as a sponsor for a little bit, but it's not going to last forever.
Just get after it.
It's not going to last forever. Just get after it now. 2022. I think you can even do, I think it's a year subscription, and you just one and done. It's a very good deal. I'm not just saying this. I do use it and I like it. So that's my take on calm.com.
Yeah.
I think I had the read of that. I think you just did the read of the year, John.
That was really good. I was watching.
Yeah, that was great. Especially the part about excuse my French. Like, when did that become a French word, Jimmy? Just curious.
Yeah, it actually originated in France. Long story. You have to Wikipedia will tell you all about it. But we're back. We're back.
Anyway, I don't really want to trade Jaylen. I just wanted everyone to get fired up. I was just setting up.
Well, last week there was a lot of trade Jaylen chatter. And listen, one game on a 50-point game and a 0-point game shouldn't be the end all be all on your opinion on a certain player or what the Celtics should do. We also need to remember that this was the Orlando Magic. So, I'm not trying to take anything away from a 50-point performance. I think you have to be extremely talented at basketball to do it, regardless of who it is. That being said, it was kind of the perfect storm of if you're going to get 50 points, this is probably the time to do it. You're playing against one of the worst teams in the league, and you're by far the go-to guy on the team. You needed to score 50 points tonight in order for the Celtics to win. That says more about the roster construction and maybe their overall health right now than it does about anything else.
And that, I guess that's where I come in on the whole trade Jaylen nonsense. If they were playing with better players around them and he was underperforming, you look at that. To me, the challenge is on Brad to put better players around those guys, him and Tatum. The guys around him aren't that good. They're okay. They're not great. They're not superstars. They're not guys that move the needle, and that's Brad's job, to get guys who can move the needle. Because you've got two proven all-stars. That's not even an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
But what do you have around them? Can you construct a roster that can, frankly, take advantage of what those guys do well and get this team wins? And that, to me, that's the challenge.
Right, and what some people are saying, and I think maybe John might even fall into this side, is you're not necessarily. I mean, some people are, but some people are not. Some people want to trade Jaylen Brown not because so much of Jaylen Brown, but just because of everything else around them, right? And they're almost stuck at, is this the best they can get with these two guys, and is there any way out? And John,
but you're not going to be better if you move him.
You're not,
you're going to go from average to below average.
But if you don't move him, and he looks around and he says, this is the team I have to re-sign with, then you lose it for nothing, and then you're going through the whole Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, Gordon Hayward. Are you going to do that again, or are you going to try to get ahead of it? No one's saying trade Jaylen Brown because Jaylen Brown sucks.
I like I said, it's a little bit of trolling on my part, but nobody wants to trade Jaylen Brown. It's the dumbest thing ever. Everybody wants the Celtics to go get players around Tatum and Brown and the team be better, but the entire conversation revolves around, you have no assets and no means by which to do this. So when you look down the road and see Jaylen's contract coming up in a little bit and decision time looming, and you haven't made the team better around them, you're in a tough predicament. It's not us saying that, like, the national perspective on what the Celtics will be forced to do in 15 months or so is a real decision on what they're going to do with Brown and Tatum, because their only means to possibly getting better might be to break them up and retool on the fly. Nobody wants to trade one of your. Nobody ever wants to trade a star.
On the fly
yes, you have to do it on the fly, but nobody wants to trade a star in the hopes that the future assets you get in might be as good as him. You've already got it here. Right. You want to build around it. So it's a funny conversation. People get really, really, really triggered when you talk about it. Nobody thinks you're better today by trading Brown. It has nothing to do with being better today. It has to do with, we've reached the end of our rope here and recognize we might be in trouble and we might need a change. And this is the only thing we have of any value to anyone. There's these pipe dream scenarios where people are in this trade Marcus, trade whatever, and get the third star. That's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. We got Bobby checking in. Bobby Manning. What's up, buddy?
There he is.
Being resourceful here between pressers. Yeah, just going to check in for a few minutes here before we talk to Brown.
Good for you, buddy. Tell us what was said there.
So you're talking a ton about Jaylen and the game and just the tenor of the season as a whole. It felt more like a loss press conference than at least a sigh of relief, I'd say, than a big comeback win presser there. But yeah, mostly talking about Brown playing too fast, making decisions on the fly, and making a ton of mistakes early in this game. But I was just so impressed that, listen, the scoring speaks for itself, and I know you've probably talked for 30 minutes about it. Doing that with
we have not talked about Jaylen yet on the show, and the chat is pissed off.
Well, allow me to introduce.
We haven't mentioned him. What did he do?
I'm the only one who can do that job here. 26 points over 12-ish minutes with no turnovers, being aggressive as he was really impressive. I don't think you can take that away from this one. Otherwise, this is just a narrowly avoided disaster. I mean, you lose to a 77-29 team here. The way it was looking like they were going to down 14 with 4 minutes left, that would have been bad. I mean, we have seen a lot of bad losses in the last week or two here. That probably would have been at the top. So you just avoid disaster here tonight. You feel good about the performance you got from Brown there down the stretch, but I don't know what more you take beyond that.
So they were generally down.
Ime was. He was the only one who talked about so far after that one. And, the questions were pretty down, mostly about the first 3.5 quarters there rather than the finish. Because the finish, you take that against Orlando, right? Like, that's the kind of thing you should do against them, even if you get behind by that much. What they did for 3 quarters in terms of turnovers, Grant just throwing it to Gary Harris, leading a fast break, Brown dribbling all over himself. Unforced errors was the way Ime put it in terms of Brown's 7 turnovers there. And it's a career high, matches a career high for him. So he's in trouble right now as a ball handler, as a lead facilitator. They've gotten away from him a little bit in that regard. They obviously need him to lead the scoring attack here now. But in terms of being a facilitator, which was Ime's kind of dream coming into this one, up and down. That's Ime's assessment so far. And it's really been more downs than ups, right?
And he's being kind when he has that assessment, calling it ups and downs. It's been mostly down. And again, it's just not who he is right now as a player. Now, can he grow into being more of a playmaker, facilitator? It's possible, but for now, he is a damn good scorer, and they need to do their best to surround him with other playmakers so he doesn't have that weight on his shoulders. Because clearly, that's not playing to what his strengths are right now.
Yeah. So just to recap, Bobby, who everyone in the chat thinks is the positive one, came in here and said, Brown's terrible as a lead ball handler. The turnovers are untenable and unacceptable, and Ime called them sloppy, which is exactly what
How many?
all of us
21 in this one?
Which is exactly what all of us said in the beginning of the show. But Bobby has that thing about him where he just can get away with it,
Bobby says it with a twinkle in his eye.
I've kind of noticed
a little twinkle. Bobby's like, everyone's talking about this like this was a really bad game and a bad win.
I've kind of noticed on this show, it doesn't matter what you say, it's just who you are and what the commenters think of you. Like they're not even going to listen to what
thanks,
you say.
Bobby, for being positive. He literally was like,
That's a
Brown
life lesson, I think, for Bobby right there.
Jaylen Brown should never dribble again. Bobby Manning,
Yeah, and the people that think I'm idiotic are going to be locked into that no matter what.
Well, they're idiots too.
There's people that feel that way about John too.
All of us. Let me ask you, what
changed
for you? We were talking about this. It felt like Brown was a little quicker with his decisions, a little less dribbling for the sake of dribbling during that run where he put up all those points in that 12-minute stretch.
Yeah, and playing off the ball too. He did that against Phoenix, going off a smart, cutting back door, doing certain things like that. He was ultra aggressive moving away from the ball, and we actually are going to hear from him just a second now. But he was going downhill nonstop, and he couldn't be stopped. 3 and 1s, I believe, in that fourth quarter. Missed a key free throw there that would have given him 51. But overall, just the aggression going downhill. He's one of the best finishers in the league. For a time, I think he had a rough stretch the last few weeks here, but he was finishing close to 65-ish% like LeBron, much lower volume. But at the rim, he's able to do at the rim. Yeah. I think that's down now at this point. I'd have to check that number. It's probably closer to 55 or so if I had to guess off the top of my head. But he is just an elite finisher, and that's where he needs to play his game, right? Because he settled on the last play that could have been the game winner of the fourth. Long 2, left a second on the clock. I thought that was a big mistake there, but otherwise just flawless aggression over the last stretch there and pushing a big basket to Richardson in transition too that I think was essentially the clincher in overtime there. Not a ton of playmaking. I think just 4 assists in this one. Turnovers, more turnovers than assists this year. He's got to clean it up in that regard, but we are going to go talk to him now.
All right, cool. So, Bobby, check out. We'll hang for a little bit. Pop back in. We'll
say hi for us.
Bye. I miss you, buddy. I miss him already.
Don't forget to ride.
Goodbye, Bobby. Goodbye. He's all grown up. I
gotta go prepare his care package. I'm gonna send out.
Yeah.
With his favorite stuff, his peanut butter M&Ms, and
yeah. Pack his lunch.
Yeah, he loves it. He loves those mini muffins. I'm gonna put those in there. So that, I mean, look, how else are you gonna talk about this game? Miserable Orlando team. Celtics are down with a bunch of guys as well, so it's going to be a friggin' rock fight, a slop fest.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Celtics still had enough talent, in the first quarter to, keep them at arm's length and win this one going away. And then they literally just played with absolute disregard for possession of the basketball. No help on defense, no pace, no accountability, no anything, no semblance of offense, nothing, no fight for 2+ quarters. It was, that second and third quarter and the beginning of the fourth was as bad as we've seen from this team against competition like this. It was dreadful.
Totally.
And then literally Jaylen Brown lit the house on fire, during that stretch there, which was unbelievable, and saved them. It seemed like the crowd was really up, Sherrod. Considering they were booing in the third quarter, this was a fun game. They, forget the critique and this and that. The crowd seemed to really want this one.
Well, everyone loves a comeback. I mean, they realized that they had crapped this game away, and just when there were folks who had already started, heading for the concourses, call it a night, and for them to get back in the game is just like, oh, great, this is what you came to see. As a fan, you want to see a good game. The fourth quarter and overtime was, really, really good, really competitive. But again, as much as I know we have to talk about Jaylen because he just dropped a 50 piece. Marcus Smart in the fourth quarter was so damn huge. The steal, the passing, the leadership, the not losing is cool because there's one time where he drove into the basket and clearly got his ass whacked. And Marcus from 2-3 years ago would have just snapped and would have got a tech. But rather than do that, he literally on the next possession went down and just literally snatched the ball from the guy, drove down court, found Jaylen for the layup, game tie with less than a minute to play. That's part of his growth. That's why, when you talk about trading him, it's hard for me to imagine you getting something comparable in return because it's intangibles like that I just don't think any other player you're going to bring in can provide. Now you can get talent. Now you can upgrade in talent. That I absolutely agree. You can get guys who are better shooters, guys who can better playmakers, but the intangibles, the leadership, the recognizing, stepping up in those type of moments. I'm not sure you're going to get that in return if you were to move him.
I'll add one intangible. One thing I liked, which was super sneaky, off of the challenge that the Celtics won in the jump ball, and Smart's battling two guys in the front court on it. And it looked like Jaylen's looking for a tap back because I think Pritchard was behind him and there's no one there. And he loses the tap. It goes backwards, and Smart somehow sneaks in between two Magic players and just ends up with the ball. He's like, suckers.
I thought he was like complaining like a half second before that. Too.
Yeah,
like,
he was. He's like, what the hell? Boom, and he got it. It was crafty shit. It was so good. And it's like bang, and it goes right to Marcus, and everyone's like, how the hell did he get the ball there? So, stuff like that, absolutely. I mean, look, he's trying to be aggressive. He's trying to go. At the end of the day, it's still a problem. He's not a very good finisher at the rim, and he never has been. So then it just comes down to, again, what do you look? This is one of those games where, at the very least, if even Marcus doesn't finish at a high clip, but he can create some of his own shots. This was one of those where, like, I've got to do something because it's not going to come from a lot of other places. So he tried to take advantage of some matchups, but he did so many of the other little things, throughout the game that he was solid all night.
Yeah.
I mean, good from both. Like I said, good from Schroder, good from Smart. They needed all of that to come back in the fourth quarter there that they got from those guys.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had a game where Grant wasn't good. This was that game, though.
He was bad.
I just thought he started looking for shots that were in spots that weren't his sweet spots. He's got a couple of really, really great positions on the floor where he's money, and I thought early on he went away from that. And plus he got caught in some really bad matchups. I mean, there are more than
Wagner cooked him 2 or 3 times.
Wagner cooked him. Terrence Ross cooked him.
Wagner's good, huh?
Wagner's good.
And I'm not going to go there. He was good tonight.
He was fine.
He wasn't great.
I
like some things that he does.
Wasn't that great, but I think he's definitely a player for sure.
He's an NBA player. Yeah. He's a rotational guy in the NBA. I'll give you that. Terrence Ross was a guy that I don't get it. You don't let your bigs wind up on an island with Terrence Ross. he's gonna torch you. It's what he does.
T. Ross is a gamer, dude.
Wish he was a Celtic. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that shit might have sailed, but like a few years ago, I definitely wanted him on the Celtics just because like he's just kind of like he just hits those dagger shots sometimes.
He's not
I
afraid
know he's
of the
still
moment.
capable. Yeah, he's still capable of doing that for sure. But I think he'd end up being a guy who'd be like, "What the hell is he doing?" Like,
Yeah, he fits into the TPE, so he's always
he could be on the
He's always
right.
getting
the TPE.
within a couple of weeks when every Celtics writer comes up with their 10 trade targets.
He will be one.
It'll be stunning if every single one of them doesn't include Terrence Ross.
I'd be shocked.
True.
I would be shocked.
He will be on everybody's list, no question about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because that's it.
As he should.
Veteran
He's
scorer,
a veteran
capable player. On a manageable contract on a team that doesn't really need him, because they're terrible, and they don't need anything. So
right. They're terrible, and on top of being terrible, they're missing like some of their best. Like they didn't have a couple of their guys that are considered their best players. The Magic. So I mean, again, it was like this was a must-win game. At the end of the season, it'll go down as a W. So it's good that they did it. It's again, I mentioned it earlier. It's just so hard to figure out what you're going to get on a night in, night out basis with the Celtics team. There's no consistency to their play at all. I mean, some horrible performances recently. Minnesota, what was the other one that they lost right before that? Or right?
Philadelphia was a bad one.
Yeah, but there was another
Milwaukee collapses, obviously.
Bad game.
And then the Minnesota was the bad.
Minnesota. There's one that I'm missing I'm looking it up as we speak because I want to make sure I mentioned it.
And in this game, they got a couple of guys back from out of health and safety protocol, and they looked worse.
Oh, Clippers. Clippers was a bad one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so again, like it's hard to figure. I mean, and that's honestly it's the mark of a bad team again, it's hard to even say with so many people out tonight. It's hard to really criticize their performance because so many guys are out.
It's impossible.
I know that a lot of players are missing around the NBA, but it does feel like the Celtics have been hit pretty hard. I guess I'm not gonna compare it to every. I don't know off the top of my head. I know that they are like games missed up there. I think they might be first, or at least they're in the top few teams of games missed by players due to COVID. But at some point, like it's the reality of the situation, and you got to figure out ways to get by.
And everyone's
dealing with the same shit.
The Cavs got killed, and they kept trucking. Other teams have survived. So
Cavs
again,
and some of these other teams, the Celtics are lucky in the sense that they haven't had, knock on wood, I'm knocking on wood, they haven't had any serious injuries that are like season-ending type injuries. I'm knocking on wood as I say it. Like you mentioned the Cavs, John, they've dealt with a couple of big ones, and there are other teams out there that are dealing with it too. So in that sense, you're kind of lucky. Speaking of COVID, how about non-COVID? Our guy Romeo tonight missed the game with a non-COVID illness. I'll say this about COVID: it's kind of made every other like illness kind of make you feel you kind of a wuss if you're missing the game for just because you're sick. To me, you're just a wuss.
The only thing I'll say to that, the only thing I'll say is it's possible because they're so thin that there's it's from top down that if you've got the friggin' sniffles, stay away from all of us because we can't have anything ripped through this team because we're all so thin right now. So there might be a mandate from up above that I guess if you have anything, get out. I don't want to see you. Don't come near me. Don't come near anyone.
It's not even an NBA thing. It's like anything now. It's like if you're kind of cucked now by COVID. If you're sick and you don't have COVID, it's kind of like wow, like you got the sickness that nobody really cares about.
I know. I was buried this week. No one's
nobody cared about you, John.
For me,
nobody cared about you, dude. Like. You have the real flu? Sorry, dude. That was so like 1930. Like nobody gives a shit about
talk.
The real.
Yeah, I got wiped out by a simple cold. Everyone else got COVID, and they're like, playing basketball 2 days.
So John, you'll be working overtime, right? Because you don't have COVID. You just have a real cold.
Yeah, sure. I'll do 2 post games today, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all good. Rob also sore toe. That friggin' kills me. And
I know.
yeah,
That's tough.
That kills me.
Like, you can't just kind of, like, I don't know, like, wrap the toe. I don't know. I mean, I'm no doctor, but, like, I kind of am a doctor. You know, like, you
It's
can
the
just
same.
wrap that thing up.
I think it's the same thing that John was just talking about. Just different types of illnesses. I mean,
True. You
any
don't want the toe
minor
you don't want someone
injury.
else to get the toe injury.
They're not. Yeah, they're being overly
Contagious.
cautious about everything. I mean, that's just how it is right now.
Well, also let's also understand that, again, they played arguably the worst team in the NBA. So if you're going to miss a game, this is kind of the one to miss.
Right. Right.
In fact, I think if you check the tapes, I'm almost certain of it. Me and Bobby were talking about Jayson Tatum needing some rest because he's played so many games. It was like, I went into the schedule. It was like, January 2nd against the Magic. That looks like a game that they would probably give him the night off if he had kept playing. Now, obviously, COVID happened, so it's different. But maybe they felt that way against, like, for a guy like Rob or somebody that they can afford to maybe give him a night off and just sort of heal whatever's aching you or whatever's bothering you, sort of thing.
Because the last thing you want to see is him re-aggravate an injury like that against a team like this. It's just like, shit. Do we really need to play him?
Is this the same big toe situation he had? What I don't know is that, whatever toe knocked him out last year, of the playoffs, which was bad.
I thought it was the right one.
Rob's a big guy. It's probably a very big toe. And those things are more susceptible to being injured. The bigger they are, the more surface area they take up, the more likely someone's going to step on it, or you're going to stub it, or you could sprain it. You know what I mean? That's just science right there, is all that is. Those little medical terms. The bigger the toe, the bigger the injury. The bigger the big toe.
Yeah, we might be spinning our wheels here.
We totally are.
Bigger the big toe, John. John, the bigger the big toe.
Next game is Wednesday. Who do we have?
Spurs. Pops is in the building.
Man.
Pops
Spurs
is back
again?
in the building. A guy who was asking about Jalen Brunson. I don't know why we don't trade for Jalen Brunson, but it's a name that's out there. But stop putting it in
Jalen Brunson's having a very good season.
Which is why you're not going to get
Unless I made that up.
He's a good player. He's a really good player. Really good player.
He is, and he's kind of that Marcus Smart mold, energy guy,
tough guy,
kind of a bully out there. Yeah, tough guy, exactly.
Rob has so many toes; he's bound to hurt one of them. I hope I'm gonna text Bobby. I'm gonna have them ask how many toes Brown.
I'll say this about big toes too. You don't want, if you screw up your big toe. That's a lot of people don't know this about big toes. Big part of your balance is in the big toe.
It is.
Big part of your balance. If you're limping, if you can't put any weight on your big toe, now you can't really go up for boards. It might land funny. It might lead to throws everything off.
Yeah, and for someone who's
kid I know had his big toe like chopped off. I think accidentally. Long story, I think, but it kind of threw off his balance like crazy.
Yeah, you want a toe?
We won't get into the story, but
I'll get
just
you
know that you want to make sure you want to keep your if you're ever in a situation where you're going to lose a toe, do not choose the big toe. I would probably get rid of
any of the other 9.
Maybe the probably like.
Oh, now you're going to shoot me in my pinky toe.
Maybe the 4th one in.
Yeah.
Maybe the 4th one in. I don't want to lose one, but if I had to.
We are so off the rails tonight.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on this game? We'll welcome Bobby back after JB, and then we'll put a bow on it. Anything else off of this? Again, Tatum, for people out there asking, close to coming back, reconditioning. They tried him out, before the game. Couldn't go. Williams picked up that toe out of nowhere.
I hope Rex Ryan isn't watching this one tonight.
In between games. Sprained toe.
Well
we
done,
don't know the
Jimmy.
severity.
Well done.
He worked out beforehand, and he couldn't go either. Neesmith was cleared out of the protocols and then went back in the protocols.
Yeah, so that might be a first.
We don't know.
That was weird.
Yeah. Yes, Harlem Nights. Thank you, Carlos. You got it.
Harlem Nights.
Well done.
It was Harlem Nights. Somebody got it. I snuck it in there. Della Reese,
Dangerous nights.
Yeah. Della Reese quote, "Now you're going to shoot me in my pinky toe."
So Neesmith was cleared, and then they were like, just kidding?
Yep.
Or maybe like, he took a test. Maybe it was a false negative, and then he took another one, and it was a positive. Maybe it was something like that. Hard to tell. I'm not a COVID expert.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend to be. I will pretend to be a toe expert, but I won't pretend to be a COVID expert.
Who knows? So
Rex,
those guys.
Yeah.
What's funny is not what's funny. What is interesting is it's possible on Wednesday, this is going to be the healthiest team they've had all year. Right.
Right.
I would have to check the.
You
I'd have
could
to check
and
the game
should.
Logs,
You could. You literally. You've had everyone already who's had COVID on the team and back. Who's there now. And you're going to get most likely Tatum, Rob. We assume Neesmith because we're not sure what's happening there, and most likely Romeo all back for Wednesday. I might actually have close to a full lineup.
What about Freedom?
So we're going to come back to this conversation we've had a million times. What do they do? What do they do with the starting lineup? Are you keeping Horford in there? That conversation will definitely start up again Wednesday because, I don't know. When JB came back, they might have had it once, and they went double big, and I think maybe twice, but I'm not really sure. And then everything got funky again with the protocols. So I'll ask you guys quick. What do you, after seeing what we've seen over the last few weeks, pick your starting five? If they've got them all.
If I got everyone, I'm going with Smart, Schroder. No, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Rob, and I think I want to go with Grant.
You're going Grant.
Either Grant or Jay Rich. Actually, Grant. No, I'm going Grant. I want to go Grant.
Okay.
Jimmy?
I'm going to go Smart, Brown, Jay Rich, Tatum, Rob.
You're going with Jay Rich.
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
I think so. So I don't think Romeo. I think we know now that Romeo is not cut out for starting. I don't think he's done anything to earn that spot back.
He did have a really good game last game.
He's a rotation guy.
But I like him in the second unit better.
Yeah. I think Jay Rich gives you that. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like you can kind of mix and match Jay Rich. If you wanted Schroeder, if you wanted Al, like some combination of those three. So I just went Jay Rich. I like what he gives you. He's steady. And I think if you're all completely healthy, he's somebody that you can rely on to sort of get your guy, get the ball to guys and sort of like contribute on both ends of the court. And he's not a liability on either end. So that's what I'm going with him.
I'm going with Sherrod's. I'm going with the Grant.
Bullshit.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Sorry about that. So we got a couple days off. We'll let you guys know. We'll still have content coming out on the Celtics channel throughout these days for sure, leading up to Wednesday's game. But we're gonna take a little break here along with the team, and this is the final home game here coming up on Wednesday. Then they hit the road. New York. Sherrod, are you going to New York?
Yeah, I'll be in New York. I'll be in New York.
Bobby's going to New York as well. So
wow, you guys will be out there.
No. That'll be a no.
I'll set it up. I'll put you guys in a group text. I'll set it up for you guys. Can totally carpool.
That'll be a hell to the no.
And you should do live stream it for everybody. We all want to join you guys on the trip.
Yeah.
Maybe a live blog, video blog.
I'll send you a postcard, Jimmy. How's that? I'll send you an e-link.
Yeah, that'll do actually.
Anyway, we said it to you guys on New Year's Eve. We'll say it again. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll be back Wednesday.
Happy New Year.
We're not going to wait for Bobby, but Bobby's in there in the interviews. JB has a knack for keeping people waiting, so it might be a little while here. We're going to wrap it up.
Let Bobby do his thing.
Let Bobby do his thing.
He's in his element.
Back on Wednesday, and that's all we got. Once again, com.com. Check it out.
com.com/garden.
Don't
forget that part.
Yeah.
That's the important part, John. Yeah.
com.com/garden, 40% off premium subscription. Support all our sponsors over at CLNS. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you check us out at clns.com. And of course, while Sherrod's here, I'll tell you, make sure you read Sherrod on his
Full Court Press,
Full Court Press.
Bulletin.com. I am there.
Yeah,
all the
Bulletin.com.
time.
Yep.
And his podcast, the A-List.
A-List podcast. There's been a lot of Gary Washburn on there, so look for some important announcements coming up soon. Yep, G-Dub there.
Oh, what does that mean?
Oh, nothing. But until then, we will everyone wants to trade me. That's fine, guys.
Yeah, because they think they can get something of value for you, John. Like, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, last word.
We
final
wouldn't
word
trade you for a second.
Trade Jaylen. Good night.